morning. I'm Gabriela Dragomir, founder of Brainstorm Strategy, and today my guest is Ben Chai.
Hi.
Hi everyone. Ben, it was awesome to finally meet you at our business conference meeting of minds with Dr. John Demartini. Ben, you are. I will read because you have many roles. You are entrepreneur, business owner, writer, speaker, coach, trainer. How you manage everything?
Oh, I don't. I outsource everything to other people who manage me. For example, as a trainer, Microsoft used to send me around the world and book me, or Learning Tree International. So I was very privileged to have teams around me. Even recently, I've had some property disasters with tenants wrecking the houses, and my daughter actually has created a team who just kind of deal with.
You with your family.
I mean, team with everybody. My family are the best though for that, because they understand teamwork and team dynamics. Whereas sometimes it's challenging with other people, especially in the entrepreneurial world, where everything with entrepreneurs seems to be about them rather than about us, which is quite interesting, because I feel a lot of people's businesses, if they would just manage to subdue their ego a little bit, would grow actually stronger by having good people working together.
And that is, at some point, it's a little bit tricky to think about yourself, about your business, and don't be worried about how to build your path from your business to others, no?
Yes, it is very tricky. As long as people are receiving value from that partnership and working with you, then it's a great partnership. But I think if there's an imbalance, like if somebody feels that you're taking advantage of them all the time, then eventually the partnership fails.
Why do you choose this path of entrepreneurship and not something else?
I didn't choose this path of entrepreneurship.
No?
No, I was actually thrown into it. I probably would be somewhere very high up the corporate ladder, earning, I don't know, 200 grand, 300 grand, which is more than any entrepreneur makes, if some things hadn't happened to me. So I have a certain set of core values, which I very rarely kind of move away from. One of those values is I just do not like seeing injustice and any kind of bullying, such as corporate bullying. And
I remember your text.
The TED Talk, yeah. Social magnetism, please.
Yes, I just shared your talk today on my social media.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
So with those kind of values, what had happened was I was a very senior manager within the Kodak business, and my director changed. So I originally had a really wonderful director, great mentor, great person to work for, and it changed to somebody who wanted to sabotage all the other directors at the expense of being, really sometimes at the expense of the business, because he wanted to be CEO. And that vibe just doesn't work with me. Again, remember, I'm talking about team, I'm talking about inclusive, and he was like pretending to be part of a team but causing challenges within the organisation.
His own game.
So eventually he had to, because I wasn't playing his game, so he had to find some way for me to leave and try to use what we call constructive dismissal. In other words, made it very hard for me to be there. Eventually they just paid me a lot of money and I said, yeah, I'd love to go because I don't want to work for this guy. And that's what threw me into the entrepreneurial world.
That means dark side, from dark point you create light in your life. And
I guess it was a bit dark. Was it dark? No, because you know, I'd engineered a nice lump sum, and you know, for a while after that I thought, this is pretty good. I can go and work for some companies and engineer my own redundancy. I get paid some money, and obviously I can get work within, you know, a couple of weeks. So for me, that was a great way to create a passive income stream with a big payout.
But when I ask people around you to tell me something about yourself, people give the definition. Ben is the businessman who bring light, lots of insights, entertainment. From where coming this kind of energy?
For entertainment? Oh, well, that's, I always wanted to be an actor, actually. And you know, it's strange because today my family will disagree with anything I ever say. But I think, you know, the typical, you know, kind of Asian culture, they tend to want their children to be lawyers, doctors, you know. I was not really destined to be anything because I was extremely shy and I was bullied a lot. So speaking on stages was not in their like, no, he'll never do that. And they actually got me a safe job within government, trying to make sure I'd be fine. I actually took that as a personal insult and left to go and find my own way in the world. So maybe that was quite entrepreneurial, maybe that was the darkness. Yeah, and I really just slept on the floor with 6 other people in somebody's room while I didn't have any money. I was just trying to work out what to do. But I always wanted to be an actor, and you know, that's why I probably make a lot of jokes. I didn't want to be a comedian, which kind of shocked me a little bit because I had an interview with John Travolta, and he was saying, I think you should be a comedian. I'm thinking, no, I want to be a serious actor.
Does mean comedian they are no serious?
Well, I think a lot of comedians are quite depressive personalities. Unfortunately, we know about Robin Williams, for example. Very funny guy, but you know, internally just had a lot of kind of challenges with depression, I guess, or something was going on. So I've seen that when I've gone to comedy places. You know, the comedians, they never seem to have much fun. Anyway, that's it. Now, obviously, I did some acting training and so on, but my path wasn't in the acting world for a while. So that's why I'm kind of always...
It's very interesting mix between business and joyness and entertainment. You take energy from your personal life and you bring calm and peace in business, and people have clarity in every step. Well, I mean, it's very kind of you to say that. I actually never really viewed it like that. Again, remember coming back to my childhood, all that bullying. In fact, I met one of them recently, one of the guys who bullied me at a reunion in a pub last Saturday. That was weird, and I don't know, I just ended up giving him a big hug. Because I think without that kind of background, I don't think I would be where I am today. So coming back to your point about changing your darkness into light. And you know, another aspect of that is wherever I go, I always think people don't necessarily have great lives. So I'm constantly thinking, how can I make their life like interesting and gives them fun and so on. An example of this is I used to have weird conversations very loudly in the underground. So I'd be sitting on the underground with you and I might say, oh Gabby, how's your sex life? Yeah, I might say, oh, with that woman I saw you with last week, Gabby's not lesbian or anything, but I would just make it up on the train and everyone would start listening in. And you could see them, and I'd know they're listening in. And I'd know they'd laugh, be sniggering, and they'd probably go home and say to their husband or wife or child, like, I just saw these crazy guys having this crazy conversation. And it would just be... You change the direction of your all your mindset at that point.
Yeah.
For other people.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, and this is one of the value systems or phrases I live by, is just to be an oasis in the storm. In other words, just try and give water and light where things are difficult. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. Like, you've been in business for what, 20 plus years, and you've been through some challenges. You've gone through some betrayals. You've gone through, you know, and if you haven't, if nobody's gone through betrayal, they're not in business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many times you close the door and cry,
Yeah.
and you think what I need to do for next step, because I'm stuck. Yeah, you have a lot of bruise in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, a lot of bruises. That's why I wear so many clothes, so I don't want people to see all my entrepreneurial bruises.
How do you know you reach your goals? Because you are a successful businessman.
Yeah.
How do you know you reach your goals?
Well,
Because you are multi business owner, and you have
so because I'm in business, I only, in terms of business, work on financial goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I just know if I've hit a figure that it's a very simple metric. Now, I'm not saying that success is measured by finance, but for me that helps me. The profitability allows me to know whether the business is successful or not. If I was in a different world, for example, I write for NGO Whisperer, which is a magazine aimed at charities, and the metrics are very different. It would be how many people have I impacted. That would be my measure of success. So I'd be thinking, okay, you love being in a global world. I don't necessarily believe that global is the way forward, by the way. But you know, from a charity perspective, it's how many children have I rescued from being a refugee, for example. That would be a metric. Or if you were trying to reduce diabetes, like that's one of my friend's goals. What is the not reduce diabetes? How many operations per minute? And that would be a metric. So they've got like numbers. Yeah, you always have numbers.
Yes,
just have numbers.
That is true. Success is built by lots of mistakes. Can you tell us some of your mistakes and what you learned from them?
So I try not to make mistakes. I try to live off of everybody else's mistakes, and this was actually really what helped me a lot, because again, that whole bullying scenario meant that I never hung out with my peer group. I actually spent a lot of time with a lot of very much older people. They were like 60s, 70s, and like nobody would talk to them, and here's this young little boy talking to them, okay, and then they just dump all their knowledge into me. So they would share all their mistakes, and which allowed me to avoid actually quite a few mistakes in my early days. I have different other challenges, yeah. So some of the mistakes I made was my first million I did on my own. Like, that was so stressful. That was probably the kind of a horrible journey, and I think that's one of the causes why I've never. I wasn't so successful in a relationship, for example.
You've been
so focused on the
yes.
business. Whereas if I had a team around me, then I would have some time to focus on a partner. So that would be one thing. Another mistake is sometimes I can be over trusting, and I've had some business people in my life which looked good initially, but actually, you know, I've helped some people which I wish I hadn't done, because now they're very wealthy, and I think they abuse that position. So that's another mistake. So I'm very careful now who I work with and who I do business with. And I'm careful by surrounding myself with people who say, no, don't want you to do business with that person, don't think they'd be bad. Why? And I'm arguing with them. No, okay, I put them there to advise me, so I just listen to them and say, okay, that's fine.
In your past, how do you know you had the right idea for your businesses?
No, I never had the right
No?
idea. I don't think anybody really has the right idea. They have an idea, and that idea evolves. You know, again, you saw this with at one of your brainstorming events with Dr. John Demartini, where he says, okay, just do what you know and grow that. And that's what I think evolves into a business. I'm constantly sharing with entrepreneurs, okay, this is the concept, this is what you want to start with, but I promise you in 3-5 years' time, this will not be your business. You'll have just found that kind of path, that light.
Many times it's only one shine, you will keep only one shine of the initial business plan, because in 3-4 years, your business changed the face. And the idea.
Well, tech and people change that. I say I'm not an entrepreneur, but I have done a lot of entrepreneurial things, like start up a newsletter within a church I went to when I was fixing myself, and also one at university. I managed the finances for the club and managed to not only manage it but grow it, and which was unheard of, because normally the clubs lose money. So they think, how did Ben grow it? So I guess I was entrepreneurial there, and out of those kind of efficiencies, that's where the ideas came. My first business, proper business, would have been in writing print drivers for a software called Multimate, which was a word processor. And a company had me write these print drivers, which is something I did, but I didn't know about sales, I didn't know about marketing, I didn't know about any of those concepts at the time. So that was it. I made some money while I was doing my job, and that was it. But I didn't know how to phone up and ask, hey, I can do this for you, right? So that's what I mean by things just grow and you learn. I don't know whether that's a failure. I made money, but I didn't know how to grow it. Yeah, and so I had a few of those little businesses where I just did something while I was in a job. Jobs are good. Never leave a job. Jobs are wonderful. I tell you why jobs are great. You get trained, and you can make mistakes, and who pays for it? Not you. So jobs are good, and I love jobs. I think more people should appreciate jobs. And if they want to grow their entrepreneurial skills, start reading books, start doing it. No law of attraction rubbish. Actually go and do it. Find out that you don't know sales, find out that you don't know, and then learn around the job. Learn around the entrepreneur, your little side, we'll call it side hustle. I think I've adopted American phrase, a side hustle.
Many of our teams, they believe we need to receive the direction and all the tasks, but in my point, it's very important to the number and the percent of entrepreneurs to grow, but in the same time to grow the mentality of our employee, to think like proper entrepreneurs, to cross the line and to come with more initiative in other people's business, because like that we grow, they grow, no?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
I like to say no.
So I love people who will take the initiative. Yeah, and obviously they get promoted very fast, but also they can get frustrated very quickly. Because when you have a lot of employees and this one's moving at that speed and the rest are moving at this speed, it's very difficult to have all of them move at the speed of that person who's moving very quickly. So it can be challenging. A second thing is some people, they just want to be told what to do. And there's a place for that. There really is a place, because we can't promote 500 people at the same time. Or can we?
Depends on your organizational culture. We move, our company grow going on depending our level, yeah. If we don't encourage our people, our team to read, to inform, or to go to the training, in some point, and that people who like to receive only the task, they would like to do something new.
They might do, they might not. There's a couple of people in my life who I've been very kind of envious of. One is, he retired a teacher. Now, he always wanted to be a teacher, became a teacher. He was offered to be in charge of the department. No, I want to be a teacher. He was offered to be headmaster. No, happy as a teacher. And he was just really happy, just really happy. He would go home to his wife, have a nice time, make dinners for their friends, and he was just happy. That is the most success you can have, more than money or anything, just to be happy. And I think there's a lot of spiritual books that share this. One of the wisest people in the kind of pre-Christian world, I think he was called King Solomon, and he had tons of in those days concubines. So he was the richest person, and there's a book called the Book of Ecclesiastes where he found everything meaningless. Money's meaningless. All these people I have, all these partners I have, that's meaningless. And the book says that what he found was the most meaning and where the people had the most happiness was someone who could just go out, enjoy their job or entrepreneur or business, whatever it is, and come back, have somebody that they really like, snuggle up, and they were happy. And that goes against all that, we've got to strive, we've got to be global, we've got to do it now.
It's not for everyone.
And this guy who always wanted to be a teacher was very brilliant. He was wonderful, really great guy.
If you find your why and your place, it's great for your health and happiness.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right.
We talk about growing. How to plan to growing your business?
How to plan business growth. Okay, so first of all, you have to have your goals, and it might be to make 100,000, or it might be to make 10 or 20 million. So I base it either. Well, you can do this two ways. You can either base it on a financial goal, or you can base it on the number of people you want to impact. Yeah, the people argue about this because obviously the more people I impact, naturally my finance will grow. I prefer having financial goals. I'm not saying, this is why I'm saying that some of my great friends who are great entrepreneurs, we have different ways of achieving the same things. So once I have a financial goal, I will work backwards and see how many products do I need to achieve that product, or how much do I have to increase the price of my product, how much value will people be willing to pay for to hit that goal.
How many times per year you recommend to increase the price of any products for?
It really depends on your business. I cannot say. There's a lot of stage speakers who talk about, okay, knowing your value and putting up your price and all that kind of stuff. All these strategies. But when I look at them on stage, they're always discounting. They'll say, okay, what I'll do is give you this, and this, and it's worth $20,000. You can have it at $500. And I'm thinking, well, you've just, everything you've talked about on stage, you've done the opposite of. So that's, I don't know why you're laughing. So it's okay to say push up your prices, but they're doing the exact opposite. So they're going for a volume market. Yeah.
How did you build your team? Because you have great team around you and big team around you.
Very, very lucky actually. I think, and it is over time with relationships and just building relationships. So we've got to know each other a little bit, and perhaps one day we might say, hey, I think we work well together. Finding people is probably is harder than finding money. It is finding there are lots of good people, but not always good people who work with you well. Yeah, so you might have different ways, you might clash. And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us clash, because we all think, no, it's got to be done like this, and unfortunately, myself included, our egos get in the way.
Or sometimes our ego makes a lot of problems in our life and business, especially in business when you start to grow and you feel well and much well, and you take sometimes wrong decision. No?
Yeah.
Especially.
Well, my daughter is trying to coach me at the moment, and because she's my daughter, my ego gets in the way sometimes because I used to coach her a lot. But what she's saying is correct to me, and I know it's correct inside. Like, I have to admit to her, I said, look, I'm really sorry, Jess, this is just my ego is getting in the way. You're right, let me see what I can do to answer your questions.
How can I be a good leader?
How can you be a good leader?
Yes, in these days. With
Oh my goodness.
With lots of influencers and lots of changes around us.
Yeah, you see, what a great field and what a horrible question to ask anybody, how to be a good leader. I think it really depends on your people. Remember we said that some people, they just want to do their 9-to-5 job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those people love someone who's dictatorial. You, do that. Love it. Oh, yes, tell me what to do. Do that or else I'm going to fight. Oh, I love that. Other people, they like to be told. So for example, if you asked me, if I was a sweeper, just swept rooms, and you said, oh, sweep this room. Right. Afterwards I finished and I think, oh, those other rooms are also untidy. I'm just going to sweep them as well. So some people love those people to coach them, and you just give them something to do and they'll extend it, whereas other people just say, I've done it. So they'll just sit down until they give you the next job. So being a leader to two types of people needs different kind of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm a great believer. This is only for myself. Is someone who leads from behind. So if you were someone, by the way, I don't believe in employees, but I will use the term. I think that I like what Brian Tracy said. If you're an employee, yeah, you're still an entrepreneur. You just chose to have one customer.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the person who just pays you that check every but you still have to be professional. So just say that you were going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love it.
I might love to work for you.
Yeah.
So I would let you go off and make your mistakes. Yeah, and you know, sometimes I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I could tell them, but then you're not going to. But then you're not going to learn. Obviously, if you're going to lose me $1 million, I'm going to get involved very quickly. But from the smaller things, for me, that's what a good leader will do: is allow you to grow yourself with guidance, obviously, like being a parent, really. Like, okay. Go and play in the field. Oh my goodness, I don't know how you got mud all over you, I don't know what you did, but hey, yeah.
Do you have a plan to retire?
Do I have a plan to retire? Retired ages ago.
But you are still here.
Well, it's because I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs enjoy doing stuff. No, I actually retired probably 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had a goal, a financial goal,
Yeah.
which I missed by about 5 years due to a family issue. But after that, I kind of just, you know, when Microsoft Learning Tree said, would you like to go teach over there, teach business, teach tech? Yeah, that's fine. But I was really kind of swanning around, you know, just enjoying my life. Really going out dancing. I love to dance. So I've been in some dance performances. I did, when my children graduated, that's when I came out of my semi-retirement. And that's when I got back into business again, and that's how come I actually am on your show, because I just thought, I need to coach them on proper business aspects. So when my daughter graduated, and she was a star in her university, she was top of the class, got so many awards for that. And in fact, I would try to take her for dinner, and she said, "No, Dad, I'm running these businesses. I've got it." It's like, yeah. So I said, "Well, I think I should teach you about proper business now that you've graduated. What would you like to do? Would you like to do property? Would you like to do media? Would you like to do education and training?" Because these are the different ones that I kind of knew the industry. And so she said property. So that's how come I got back into the property world. And actually I was still behind the scenes, but my daughter kind of outed me in one of the big property events. Yeah, I was just rehearsing for dance routine. They used to think I was crazy, and then she said, "Oh, well, my dad has he's actually got loads of properties, and he's done this and this and this."
Great portfolio.
Oh my goodness! So suddenly they wanted me on their stages and
to share your
to share
expertise,
yeah.
What is unique about your businesses?
What is unique about them? I don't do anything really. I just have people doing them for me.
People will learn. You don't need to do nothing.
No, and honestly, I mess it up sometimes. I do. So now I've got this great team at Opportunities. So this is my team with Keely, who's the managing director. She's so great. Miles and Pete, who do systems and communications. And sometimes I want to get involved. Sometimes I think,
Ben,
you're going to distract us here. We've got this. Right? So no, I'm absolutely serious about this. So I think if anything, one of my strengths has been looking at challenging situations. So if they do come across a big problem, that's when I'll get involved, or finding people to build teams with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember in the media world, a company had they had signed a contract with Microsoft, but for some reason they forgot about this contract for about 10 months, and they had 12 months to deliver it.
Oh.
So they phoned me up and said, "Can you do this?
Save
We need to deliver this amount of content in 2 months. Can you do it?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." They said, "How?" I said, "I'll work it out." And I was able to get a team. So initially the guy said, "You're producing all your content." I said, "I'm recruiting a team behind the scenes, but we still have to hit your goals." So it's not that I can't do the job. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that I think I'm better at managing and organizing time for other people. And of course we hit all the goals for Microsoft, and in fact some of the sites had to be shut down because we overproduced on content, and they were considered Microsoft spam sites. So
You did very well your job.
of getting a team together
Mm-hmm.
to produce this material.
What is your company goals?
My company goals.
Yes.
So which company?
Properties?
Media, property.
Media, because these two hands,
Yeah.
they are very important, media
Yeah.
and properties.
Right, so for myself, some new goals, because the government has changed the laws.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to move my personal portfolio out of my name into limited company. To do that, I'm going to have to suffer some financial losses. But that's one goal. Long term, and this is something else, entrepreneurs, we have to think long term. So long term, this will be fine, but initially I'm going to have to lose some money. The second goal is my team. We want everyone on a certain salary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another goal, to have enough properties to produce that income for that team. The third goal, in terms of my education business, is now this is actually not particularly a financial goal, that I want to be able to empower people in countries where they don't have their own economy, they don't know how to develop their own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be able to educate those people. So I have contacts already in place to do that. Now I just have to raise the finance by creating some online products, and I will use that to finance myself going out and teaching in these countries. A bit like Dr. John Demartini, really, I guess, in some ways. Like sometimes he's got his path, and I like dancing and acting, so I'm not quite one of his.
In some points, Dr. John Demartini is very guilty for my very young curiosity in psychology and cognitive behavior. This is, you remember a few times Dr. Demartini, and I would like to say this is was my reason to open the meeting of minds business conference with Dr. John Demartini, because it was very personal.
Aye.
Yeah, he's a legendary.
Well, when he's one of the speakers that I feel, and I've actually said this on somebody's video somewhere, that I just felt he was part of this term tribe, and just kind of we had similar thoughts. Like positive thinking is rubbish, yeah. Like law of attraction, what are people on? You've got to plan.
You need to work
yeah.
to build a relation.
And like just charging, like people saying, oh, you're worth more. Well, nobody's paying you, so how can you be worth more? It's like just yeah. So I just had a great bond with him. Not just then, I've seen him before and I've written some stuff about him in the past. Yeah, just a great guy, really.
That is true.
Yeah, please don't let me uncover horrible stuff about him.
What are your responsibilities like business owner? In your point.
As a business, look, as a business owner, you need to be like a conductor in an orchestra. Yeah. You're not supposed to do any of the work. You're supposed to find people and then manage and organize them to produce value to customers. The conductor in an orchestra, you don't see the conductor playing the piano, playing the violin, the trombone. You don't see them doing any of that. But they are thinking what the audience or customers want, and they are trying to get the most out of that team of people. That is, from my perspective, the business owner's job. So for example, in property, I don't build houses. I do get involved with cleaning, I do get involved with occasionally fixing things, but that's not really my job. Yeah, my job is to organize the solicitors, the mortgage brokers, the builders, the plumbers, the handyman, the letting agents, the gardener, the cleaners, and so on, and make a great product in terms of a home for somebody. Maybe it's a short-term home, maybe it's a long-term home. But that is my job, is to orchestrate all these people. The accountant, of course, I forgot the accountant. How could I? And that's what I think a job of a business owner is. Of course, we get involved every so often because you have to. Like in the old days when I was allowed to fix the boiler. I'm not these days because I'm not Corgi registered. But if the boiler man, what do you call them, gas man, Corgi registered guy, if they weren't around or they were late or whatever it is, the tenants they don't have any hot water or heat. So you've got to do it. And I find this disrespectful sometimes when I see business owners saying, not my job.
Yeah.
It's not my job. Okay,
well,
there you go. You've just lost some customers. Good for you.
You mentioned properties a few times,
and because that's the current thing that I'm working on.
This is great business. What made you to choose this type of business?
So as a little boy, I always wanted to be in property, and it's just that, and this is actually a really important point. I took advice from some people at the time who said property is bad business. Yeah, they were my parents actually. They deny it.
Our stereotypes from home make lots of problems.
Yeah. Well, my parents had always lost money with their houses, so they bought it and they sold it at a less price. So I think they were just trying to protect me. So I actually never got involved in property until much later, when somebody knocked on my door, and this is in the early 90s. And they knocked on my door and they said, "Ben, can we come in?" I'm thinking, who are you? I thought they were the Mormons. I said, yes, who are you? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, they were the grandchildren of the lady next door. And by grandchildren, they were about 40, I think she was about 70, 80, I can't remember. Anyway, we had a cup of tea and they said, I'm really sorry, my grandmother's passed away. But she always used to talk about you. I said, I hope I didn't do anything wrong. I just used to mow her lawn. I used to go around and have cups of tea because she was on her own, change light bulbs, so that kind of stuff. And they said, we'd like to bless you back. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, the estate agents have said the house is worth this much. We'd like you to have it at this much, which was roughly, it was a substantial amount. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I don't know if I should do this, because my parents told me property is rubbish, and that would get me into trouble. Anyway, they said, well, it's up to you. We'd like to bless you back. You've got 1 week to make your decision. So I phoned up my brother, and I said, I've got this property. In those days, there was no such thing as a buy-to-let mortgage. You know, we didn't have those till the mid-90s. And I said, will you take this property for me? I'll pay all the costs and so on, and we'll write in the solicitor's agreement that it's mine. I said, yeah, no problem. So that was my first property. I didn't understand about property in those days, and I thought if I bought 4 properties in a row, I can build a hotel. Actually, you can't. And the lady at number 1 she was a nurse, and she wanted to move to another hospital. And she said, Ben, I saw you bought the house next door, and you've always helped me with my home. You can have my house at a huge discount. Now, again, my parents wanted to protect me, and when they heard that I'd bought this house, they were really upset. Yeah, what are you doing? Blah 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 blah. If you buy any more, you don't know what you're doing. If you buy another one, you will not be part of this family.
Oops.
So I didn't buy that house.
You lose the opportunity.
I lost that opportunity. Hey, there's opportunities every day, right?
Yeah.
So I lost that opportunity, which caused me a lot of darkness because the lady who moved in was not a particularly nice person. And that caused me lots of problems, which forced me to move somewhere else. Anyway, that's how my property started. The next 2 properties afterwards were also with people who I'd helped a lot, and I got a huge discount from their children.
Great start.
Yeah.
Have you ever down any client?
Have I turned down clients?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, many clients. There are people, when I used to manage properties myself, when I'm interviewing people, I'm thinking, no, I don't think I want you in my property. So there are certain cultures that are fantastic and look after my properties well. I always want them in my houses. As I'm a predominantly student letting person, I tended to only want postgraduates or third years because they respect the properties more. So yes, I have done. If their parents happen to be either landlords themselves or their parents manage lots of properties, I would rather they not be in my house because they know lots of ways to mess up my house and use the law against me. So I just think, well, I don't think this is a good thing. I remember having this big argument, but we really want your house. I'm sorry, it's gone. No, we really want it. No, I can't help you. Yeah. And I knew they would just mess up the house. Same with customers, and you can only do this once you're financially free. There's some customers you're sitting with them and thinking, oh, this is going to be horrible. Same with some investors. I just, like, if they're phoning me up every day, mm-hmm. I don't want them to be my investor. Yeah. And we've got a lot of investors. We have over £2 million worth of investment in property, but there's some investors, they're just going to give me more grey hair, they're going to give me sleepless nights, they're just going to be stressful. I can do that today, in my early days when you need customers and you need business, you can't always afford to make that decision.
Yeah. You can tolerate.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to put up with it for a little while.
But now you don't.
I don't. I'd rather lose money, and which is what's happened recently. I'd rather lose money than have these people in my house.
If someone outside want to start this new path in property, what would be your advice?
Get education. I have so many people asking how to, and they want to spend like 100 hours on the phone to me, and I just don't have the time. So either get education, and you can get education if you don't have money by reading. There's a lot of YouTube videos. We create a lot of free content on property investing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to learn. It's a long way to learn because you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. If you can afford it, there are courses in the UK. I'm currently associated with Elite Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So they give property courses, but there are many other people out there who are giving property courses. Find somebody who's reputable and get education. That's another way. Or you could just do it yourself, like me. I just did myself. There wasn't any property education.
But you educate by yourself.
Yeah, and I made mistakes. I lost some money. This is where I learned the difference between good students and bad students, and who's great as a tenant. At the time, there was no such thing as student lets, and so the estate agents, when I wanted to use them, they said, "That's crazy. Nobody does that." So I had to learn how to do that on my own. I had adverts in the sweet shops, the news agents. I had adverts at the universities. I just went and just posted them all over the university, the walls. They probably took them down, but that's how I got my... I'd see groups of students walking around the street. I'd say, "Hey, are you looking for a house?" And I had some great tenants like that.
And I'm sure you received many yes. We look. We need.
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Why people buy from your business and from other side?
I think.
What do you think?
Well, it's what it's all the lessons say. People just buy from people. They either like you or they don't like you. In this country, in the early days of me being in business, not for myself. I had a job as a salesperson. It was challenging because the country wasn't as embracing of other races as it is today. But today, it's they either like you or they don't like you. That's it. Even if it is racism, that's so what. There's so many other people who would like your race anyway. We had a little bit of this recently with somebody who comes to our events. Just a letting agent didn't like his colour, so. But that's fine. He just went to a different letting agent, got lots of great tenants, and you just want to work with people who like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. People buy from, and that's it. Not everybody likes me, and that's okay. I just think, okay, that's fine.
I didn't meet any people who don't like you because you are bubble. You are
I don't know. I mean, you don't know. You don't really know who likes you and don't like you. I've been the editor of a lot of magazines, and a lot of people like me until I leave that magazine. So so you just don't. You really don't know.
And at some point. In that moment, you'll find who really admire your work and your know-how, and who only use your know-how.
Yeah, and both of them are fine. I don't mind. I think you can't attract good people without having some bad people. So
sometimes bad publicity is good for your business, no?
Well, that's what Richard Branson used to work on. As he used to say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And I actually agree with him in a funny way. I did a podcast interview with in tech, so I had one of the largest security podcasts with this guy we were just making up jokes about Microsoft's operating system. And then we made a joke about another operating system. And he had so many people email and said, why, well, blah, 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 blah. I had lots of people saying, Ben, he probably thinks we all wear sandals and everything. It was just a joke. But out of that, he got a lot of business. Yeah. And I got promoted very highly in the security world because of that publicity. I don't think enough people understand publicity, and they're always like, hey, I need to look good. I need to look wonderful, look, oh, and they're too worried about how they look rather than thinking, you know, it doesn't matter what happens. Yes, if it goes badly, you're going to have to do some management there, but that's, at least you're now out there, at least people know you, even if it's for something not so good.
And it's very important how you take the negative feedback and how you build around this kind of feedback.
I would call that challenging feedback rather than negative, because either you caused it by, like, for example, if nobody likes you, and probably everybody likes you, Gabby, but now I'm on your show, people were saying, why are you associated with this person? Yeah. I deal with it, and I'd say, well, I've dealt with Gabby for a long time, and she's a great person. I would not necessarily believe everything that people are saying, you know. But now I know on somebody else's in somebody else's world. So I don't think there's any such thing as bad publicity, really. People will start putting loads of comments. What about if you're with Brexit or something?
We will be fine.
Just how you manage the publicity.
Yeah.
And I think people are too caught up with it rather than trying to share their message. Yeah.
At the moment, what kind of risk you face it in your business?
So current risks, I'm in negative cash flow in some of my properties because of the change in law. So that's a real problem that I'm having to deal with. One of the suggestions we make to entrepreneurs is always to have a reserve in finance. So I normally have about 2-3 years reserves to deal with these kinds of challenges. So that's one real problem, and in fact it's actually caused me a lot of stress over the last 3 months while I've been dealing with that. An internal challenge for me is I so much want to be an actor, but I love business, and I always teach people you can only do one thing, really. You only need to focus on one thing. So I'm having that internal battle, which has been going on for a while, actually. What shall I do here? So that's, and of course, when you're defocused on your goals, that messes up my achieving certain goals in my life.
You are expert in strategies and sales, like you mentioned. How do you sell?
How do I sell? With
What
style.
is your strategies to sell?
With selling? Selling is a concept that's evolved over time. So in the early days, so I don't want to tell you how far back I go, but in those days, you know, you could literally phone somebody up and get a meeting. Today, it's not like that because of the internet. People don't want to know about IT. They've already done their research online. They can also do research on you. They look at your LinkedIn or your Facebook or your social media. And some people, if you don't have any social media, they don't want to do business with you because they don't know who you are. So it's a tough one, that. Yeah. So selling's evolved, and I would say, what is your market? Like in property, I don't need to sell rooms because I've got letting agents to do it for me. Yeah. Yeah. So I can easily outsource. I don't have to pay those letting agents anything until they find me a customer. With other products, like the people who sell from stage, their educational programs, that is a specific art in itself. I think the hey, it's $50,000, you can have it for $200 kind of style is dying, and people are very quickly seeing this is not authentic. So they're going to have to evolve and grow their following, like with an Instagram following, or a Facebook or YouTube, wherever your following is, so that people like you and are attracted to your products. And then you've got an opportunity to say, okay, Ben, you've done this TED Talk on social magnetism, I loved it, can you help me personally? Do you have any products to help me grow my own way of connecting with people and for them to want to do business with me? So again, I'm using other platforms such as TED Talks, which is not doing any direct selling at all. It's just showing what I'm capable of in terms of helping you. And because the TED platform has, I don't know how many millions of subscribers, it's a very good way for me to reach an audience.
And share your know-how and people
exactly.
know more about yourself.
Yeah. So I get a lot of requests in LinkedIn and Facebook, and then I can say, okay, there's a lot of people who just have connected with me, saw your TED Talk, really loved it, would love to connect with you. So now I have an opportunity to say, oh, what did you like about the TED Talk? I have some products in this area, would you be interested in having a look at them? You know, it's very, very direct, but conversational, because they started the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is a great platform for business.
All of them are great platforms, it's just how you use them.
Ben, last question. You bring light and people alive, building the bridge between develop opportunities and properties and freedom. Yeah, some people go on this path of properties and create themselves their own freedoms. What is your legacy?
So what is my legacy? My dad helped, I think, 11 or 12 people become significantly wealthy. And as a young person, I thought, you know, because my family's quite competitive, I wonder if I could double that.
I wonder from where you have this competitive
attitude. Yeah. Me too. And so I thought, I'm going to double that, but because of the internet and because of Microsoft and Learning Tree having me on their stages, I've impacted, you know, hundreds of people, and perhaps with the TED Talk, that's had over 120,000 views as of this interview. So I've impacted significantly more, and from the letters I've had, I know that I've helped a lot of people become very wealthy. And I was thinking, I wonder if I could take this to 1 million. Yeah, who knows? I won't have any metric, because it's not like 1 million people are going to write me a letter and say, Ben, it's because of you I've made a lot of money and are financially free. But I thought that might be a great thing to have. Or if not, at least some of the lessons that you shared with people live in those people, and they're sharing it with other people to help empower other people. How wonderful would that be as a legacy? And it doesn't matter who it's attributed to. Yeah. So I sometimes hear people say, oh, Alexandru shared with me this, he's a great guy, and I'm thinking, but I told Alexandru that. But it's fine, isn't it? Because those learnings and what you've shared with people is now being replicated through the world. And if I started that wave, that would be a great legacy for myself. Or if I joined the many waves that other people have created, and we all together become a tidal wave of great information. How wonderful a legacy is that?
1 + 1 is
700,000.
Yes, definitely.
That's why I'm rich, because my maths are wrong.
Thank you so much, Ben, for your time and for your wisdom, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you, and I accept it. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah.